Good morning. It's Wednesday, February the 10th, and this is The Drill. Thank you. And now for the prayer of the day. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thine will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. My name's Ron, and this is The Drill. And today it's going to be a bit of a potpourri. I'm going to go ahead and sort of freestyle it. The left loves freestyling and wants to imbue our culture with a freestyling mentality. And so I'm going to give that a whirl today. So that when we come back. Everybody on the right, all conservatives, are scared. I less so than everyone else, because I understand why it is that conservatives are scared. The conservatives are scared to talk about certain things, make certain statements, use certain words, because they're afraid of the left and the left's rejoinder and the left's questions. For instance, if I was sitting down, imagine myself sitting down talking to Hugh Hewitt face-to-face, and if I asked him, your name is Hugh Hewitt, right? And then I would ask him, how do you know? And I would imagine that he's going to take this at face value. This is one of the big weaknesses, by the way, of the right, is that we've been brainwashed into taking everything the left says at face value. As a matter of fact, should do is assume everybody is a lefty until proven otherwise because of brainwashing. But anyways, we take it at face value. I would expect Hugh Hewitt to take the question at face value, and then he would be sitting puzzling over how he can, maybe he's going to get out his driver's license or whatever, and then I would tell him, that's your first mistake, is taking the question at face value, taking it seriously. What he should do is ignore it and move on. Okay? What it is it's a trick question. It's what I call a reality question. Very few people on the right, except myself, are willing to talk about reality and say, yes, if a tree in a forest falls and no one was around to hear it, it still made a sound. Okay? Because they're afraid that the left is going to come to you and say, prove it. Prove the negative. And you think that you should be able to prove it. And so as you start to think and think and think and go in circles and more in circles, you start to get very anxious, you start to get stressed, and you get to the point where you even start questioning your sanity. Not in no time do you realize, and would Hugh Hewitt realize, that it's a trick question. Okay? Reality is axiomatic. It is the given. And so it does not require proof. Nothing, and it is impossible to prove a negative anyways. So you have to take what the left says as assuming that everything they're doing is a weapon of some sort, and particularly in a situation with reality. But anyways, the consequence of this is that Hugh Hewitt will no longer want to talk about reality. He may not even want to, if you really want to play the game the way the left would play it, he may not even want to call himself Hugh Hewitt. He may qualify that. Get up bound and show, hi, this is Hugh Hewitt, at least today. Or, I'm Hugh Hewitt, that's what I call myself. Instead of saying, hi, I'm Hugh Hewitt with confidence. So, because the left wants to play these little verbal games, and again, the right, the conservatives, are scared to death of what it is. They won't say certain things because they're scared to death of what the left is going to say. They're going to avoid certain words and phrases because they're afraid of what's going to come back. Classic example, I defeated a lefty on Facebook. And again, if you're going to, you want to practice defeating lefties, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc., because you can read what it is that they're saying and you can take time to think about it. What should I say? What are they doing? And always ask yourself, not what are they saying, what are they doing? Okay, words for them is just a means to an end. And it's a way to shut you up and get you out of the way. But I was on Facebook, and it was a discussion about UCLA and USC for the football game. And this one woman was teasing somebody else that was a USC supporter by saying that the USC stood for University of Spoiled Children. So I jumped into the conversation, and when I just thinking about doing this, I asked myself, gee, isn't somebody going to go ahead and try to use what I'm about to say as a weapon? Yes, but I knew how to deal with it, so I went ahead with it anyways. And I came back and I said, unknown Caucasians lost among Asians. Go Trojans. And I knew that there was a possibility, two possibilities. Either she's going to take it in the manner, in the way I offered it, as a kind of a lighthearted, teasing kind of a jest situation, or she's going to go racist on me. And she chose the latter instead of the former. Instead of just laughing it off, saying that's cute, because that's what it was. It was a cute little, play on words. And by the way, I got that idea of unknown Caucasians lost among Asians from an Asian person. That's the way they described UCLA. But anyways, she comes back and writes back, kind of racist, yeah? And that's the latest little affectation for the left is that tag expression, yeah. Everything has to end with yeah. Perhaps it's from Australia. That's one of the big deals for the left. They love anything Australian now. That's the hip thing. So anyway, she's kind of racist, yeah. But I knew what was coming, or what was potentially coming. And instead of getting intimidated and saying, well, no, I'm not a racist. There's nothing racist about me. I don't have any jackboots. I don't even know what jackboots look like. I've never goose-stepped in my life, and all that kind of crap, and make myself look bad, worst. I knew exactly how to handle that, and that was to turn it right back on her and say, so I told her, I said, you mean racist, you mean as in spoiled children? I wouldn't think so. And then waited to see if she bothered to respond to that. Now, what I should have done at that particular point was claim my victory and just simply say, have a nice day, or have a nice life. Put a smiley face emoji on it and be done with the conversation. I win. Okay, because when she makes her question kind of racist, yeah, she's looking for me to start bubbling and fizzing. I'm sure she was probably shocked at hearing what I said about UCLA, or how I described UCLA in the first place, because she's, how dare you? You didn't ask permission. That's basically what it comes down to with the left. That the right is not allowed to speak unless it asks permission. But anyways, so it took hours for her to come back, and she came back with the most mealy-mouthed, weird response I've ever heard, something along the lines of, well, yeah, sometimes spoiled children are racist. Something like that. And I thought, wow, that was really weak. Anyway, so I went ahead and claimed my victory, which I should have done in the first place. And I told her, I said, you're not a leader, you're not a change agent, and you're not making a difference. Have a nice life. Smiley face emoji. And that was it. And I let it go. I got a notification that she had responded to that. I didn't even bother with it, because I claimed my victory. It's done. It's finished. It's over. And that's one of the things that the conservatives are afraid to do, claim their victory. They're afraid to say, excuse me, the conversation is over. I won. You lost. Have a nice day. Or words to that effect. So, again, not taking what Hugh Hewitt shouldn't do is take the left at face value. You assume, until proven otherwise, that there's some kind of an angle. Okay? And then what they're asking you, what seems like simple and stupid questions, that you should be immediately asking yourself, what are they doing? Okay, because when you ask yourself, what are you doing, and you answer that question, you're going to be able to defeat them and defeat them every time. But, like I said, it's all about not being afraid, not being intimidated. Once you know that the left is really all about games, they're all about playing with your head, they're all about getting you to bubble and fizz and overreact, then you can be calm and, again, get in that mindset where you can ask, what are they doing, and then defeat it. So I've been listening to Hugh Hewitt, and he's been on all day or all morning. He's been with call-in guests, or not guests, but callers. He's been using callers. And what it reminds me of, first of all, is that there's a little bit of laziness, a lot of laziness on Hugh's part, in which he expects to get paid for doing the minimum amount of work. And it's really offensive, because he doesn't work that long to begin with. No talk show host does. And it's not hard work. It's not like somebody's asking you to dig a ditch. All you're doing and expected to do is run your mouth. Minus commercials and news, he doesn't even do 3 hours. He does less than 3 hours. And he spends most of his time turning it over either to guests, clips, or callers. And again, it's called the Hugh Hewitt Show. Not the caller show, not the clip show, not the guest show. You know, have the decency for a man that's got a net worth of $700,000. He should have the decency to punch in and do his damn job. Now, beyond that, a little bit of history of talk radio. The talk radio started in the 1970s at a station called KABC in Los Angeles. That's all it did. It was talk radio and the Dodger games, which was really just basically more talk radio. It started with Ken and Bob Company in the morning, and then it went to, when Ken and Bob Company was more of a variety show, they had callers call in, and they would swear them into the Nude Listener Club and things of that nature. So it was always very funny, and it was just always a very funny show. So after that was a guy named Michael Jackson. Not the Michael Jackson, but Michael Jackson from England. He had a British accent, and that's all fine and dandy. But basically what his show was, he would talk about a particular topic and introduce it and expound on it for a little bit, and then he would turn it over to callers. And the idea of all of talk radio at that time was about the callers. The idea is you say, this is a current event, this is what happened today or yesterday, and call in and express your opinion. Okay, so the callers call in and express their opinion. Now, what Michael Jackson would do is he would allow anything. You could call up and express any point of view unless it was obvious that you were psychotic, at which point he would just very politely, thank you very much for calling, have a nice day, and give you the bum's rush and introduce the next caller. And all of this has to do with what's important about what's going on today is that it was to try to promote subjectivism, the idea that reality is not objective, which is redundant, but subjective, which is actually a contradiction in terms, and that reality is what the majority says it is. So what he was doing with this talk show was trying to discover what's real by asking the callers, like doing a poll or a survey, but instead of calling them and then leading them through a series of questions, there's just one big question, and then he allows callers to call in and expound on it. So Hugh Hewitt's doing basically the same thing. He's doing a reality probe, which is not conservative. Conservatives are realistic. We acknowledge reality and everything that goes with it. So we don't need to do a poll or a survey. But that's exactly what Hugh Hewitt is doing. He does it several times a week. Hey, the impeachment. What do you think about the impeachment? It doesn't matter. And nobody really wants to know anyways. I don't give a damn what my neighbor thinks about impeachment. What I care about is what's real. What is real? And the number one question here is, can you impeach somebody that's already out of office? Is that legal? Is that constitutional? So that's what I'm listening to Hugh Hewitt for. He's supposed to be a constitutional law lawyer. Supposedly, he taught constitutional law. Why you would go ahead and turn that subject over to the butchers, the bakers, and the candlestick makers, I don't know. Okay? He should be able to answer that question and answer it in 1 or 2 sentences. But instead, he plays the left-wing game, because he's been brainwashed by the left, of what's real is only what the majority says is real. Okay? Another example, real life example. I had a friend of mine. He was Chinese, but he spoke almost no Mandarin, and he had a relationship with a girl that was also Chinese, but she spoke almost no English. Now, he described the relationship as basically satisfactory. It worked anyway. But then, of course, the issue of marriage comes up. He wasn't sure what he wanted to do, and they end up breaking up. He sees her years later. She's married. They have a conversation. He comes to me and asks, did I do the right thing in letting her go? And I told him, yes, of course you did. And I told him why. I said, because marriage is fundamentally about communication. If you two can't communicate, how can you expect to have a lasting, loving relationship? And his response was very telling. He said that he had asked the same question of all of his other friends. Not one of them gave him a straight answer. Okay, and the reason, and I know the reason they didn't give him the straight answer, and the reason why I did, was because all of his other friends, again, believe this idea that reality is what the majority says it is. So, if you're being asked a question, should I have done this, should I do that, what should I major in when I go to school, ideally what I should be doing is going out and conducting a survey and asking all of my friends, hey, Joe asked me what he should be majoring in. What do you think? What do you think? The problem is, with this, one of the big practical problems of being a subjectivist, there's never any time to do a poll or a survey. And without a poll or a survey, you don't know what to think. So you end up bullshitting your way through conversations and bullshitting your way through life. Another classic example is YouTube. Go on YouTube and find the conversation between Ben Stone and Robinette at the very end of a particular episode that had to do with race. It was actually loosely based on the Tawana Brawley case. And at the very end, Robinette asks Stone, he said, did I sell out? Now, the right answer to that question is no. You're a DA. You're not an activist. If you're an activist and you're part of that organization, then you have, it might be a question for you. But if you're a DA, and as long as you're doing your DA job, it's not possible for you to, quote, sell out. Okay? Does Stone say that? No. Stone says words to the effect, well, do you really want my opinion? If you do, I'll tell you. But basically, it's something that you got to figure out for yourself. Robinette starts to mock this. You mean, is this going to be one of those, looking in the mirror while I'm shaving kinds of discussions? And Stone still doesn't give him any respect here. He says, well, do you want it to be? It's like, you're kidding. And then he says, look, it's something that's inside you. He says something also about you got to decide whether or not you're a lawyer who's black or you're a black lawyer. And he said, other than that, you just got it. It's inside you. You examine it. You do the best you can. And at the end of the day, that's all you got. That's bullshit. He's bullshitting his way through the conversation because he doesn't know. Instead of just coming out, that's another thing that he could have said that would have been true and would be helpful is, I don't know. Did I sell out? I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't thought about it. I'll think about it overnight and I'll let you know tomorrow. Okay, but he doesn't say that. He just BS his way through the conversation. Why? Because there's no time to conduct a poll or a survey. And that's what he feels he really needs to do. Find out what does everybody else think. So let's survey all the other ADAs. Let's survey maybe some black people on the street, and we'll get some sort of a, quote, consensus, unquote. Then I'll be able to tell you whether or not you sold out. Bullshit. Okay? Don't let people bullshit you, and you don't have to spend your whole life bullshitting your way through conversations and just bullshitting your way through life, period.